Hello, welcome back to another Hellenistic challenge. Today our question is, using just the 7 traditional planets, what explains Elvis Presley's long enduring fame? He died 45 years ago and people still are wearing his logo on t-shirts, listening to his music. Just this summer there was a movie about his life that was very popular. And so if we look at Elvis's chart, we see that he was, of course, a Capricorn, which has staying power. And that Capricorn sun has drawn in under its beams both Mercury and Venus. They, in a sense, have to serve the engine of that sun. Notice Mercury rules his rules his midheaven, and Venus rules his 11th house, which is the house that rules, among other things, our audience. And so all these planets together work as a stellium. And what gives this stellium extra firepower is the fact that he was born during an eclipse cycle. Notice the closeness to the north node. There was a solar eclipse 3 days before he was born, and then a lunar eclipse just 2 weeks after he was born. And so that kind of shoots firebolts into that stellium, giving him that electricity that people sensed whenever he performed. And so you think, well, that stellium's in the 2nd house, which certainly indicates talent. That's one of the signatures of the 2nd house. But the 2nd house isn't the most dynamic of places for planets to be. But however, there's a mitigating factor. Notice that these planets are in exact trine to his midheaven. So he's able to take that massive talent and just shoot it out into the world through that midheaven. But something else is supporting his Capricorn stellium, and that's Jupiter. Notice Jupiter is his ruling planet. He's a Sag rising, but Jupiter sees that stellium by sextile. So you think, well, that's a very pleasant sextile, but there's something kind of special about this one. Notice Jupiter, when it sends its ray to 18 degrees Capricorn, notice where that lands. It encloses Mercury between Jupiter's ray and Venus. So the two benefics contain that Mercury, which rules his midheaven. So that's a condition called bonification. And so there's something very blessed or protected about his midheaven, about his career. And then there's something else about Elvis's kind of his life since he died, is that he's become very wealthy. When he died, he left an estate of just about $1 million to his only child, Lisa Marie. So you think about his legacy, that 8th house ruled by that moon. His father was the trustee of the estate, and they kind of limped along for a few years. But then his father died, reasoning that when he had to choose a trustee for Lisa Marie, who was still then a child, the best person to protect her inheritance would be her mother, Priscilla Presley, Elvis's ex-wife. And so once Priscilla Presley became trustee of Elvis's estate, she was able to work with some very savvy investment people and attorneys who did, among other things, they converted Graceland into a tourist attraction. So it went from being a big drain on the estate to a great boon. But she also worked with the attorneys to trademark Elvis's name. And so you've got that when people want to put Elvis on a t-shirt or on a motorcycle bag or something, they had to pay the estate for the right to use that name. And so that's how the estate that was about $1 million when Elvis died in the late 70s is today worth between $400 and $500 million. And so Priscilla Presley, you think about her being the 7th house, through service, her 6th house, and that Jupiter was able to serve Elvis's estate and burnish it. And also when you look at that Jupiter, which is again his ruling planet, planted there in the 12th house, there's something about that Jupiter and Scorpio in the 12th house. You think about the collective unconscious, that Elvis himself became kind of an icon and something that everybody kind of knew and could recognize and resonated with long after he had passed away. And so then just one other interesting thing about this particular time in Elvis's chart, notice he's having his third Saturn return. And so it probably was exact around the time the movie was released. And it's interesting that the movie portrays a very older sort of Saturnian figure in Elvis's life, the Colonel, as guiding Elvis and not in the very best way, kind of took his career down the tubes. And notice Saturn in his chart ruling that very powerful stellium is in aversion. It doesn't see it. And so as this Colonel, kind of guiding Elvis's career, was not really acting in what was best for Elvis and getting his talent out into the world. And so that's just another interesting aside note, remembering that our charts continue to live on even after we have been long gone. So thank you so much again for listening. And if you have any other thoughts about Elvis's chart, I would love to see them in the comments below. Thank you.